afternoon, everyone. It's an absolute honor to be present in front of you to be presenting Toyota. Toyota was a recent campaign that we ran for the brand Etios. Etios is managed out of one of our agencies in Bangalore called Dentsu Communications. A little bit of myself. I started my career with advertising 15 years back, ran away. 15 years I was publisher, technologist, and a bunch of other things, and I've come back to advertising because I believe it is time to be back where it belongs. And I believe in integrated communications. You see a bunch of it as we pass through our presentation. So why Toyota Etios? Before why Toyota Etios? What am I going to speak about in the next 25 minutes? First, I'm going to start off with saying, what we actually managed to do with the Toyota Etios campaign, how we looked at the whole campaign, how did digital become a part of a larger engagement within an agency. And next, I'm going to actually leave you off with 7 essential things that a marketer needs to think about before engaging on a digital campaign. So, Toyota Etios is the small car, the first small car from the Toyota stable. Very important for them. One of the biggest things that when we scanned the media over a period of time was that there was a lot of interest around people looking for this car. Most of the data that we looked at from Google Analytics and social media listening basically said a lot of people are very keen. A lot of people are waiting. They're trying to figure out what this car is about because it is the first car that Toyota made for India, from India. So we started off with 2 series of campaign. One is the prelude stage and the launch stage. When we started the prelude stage, one of the biggest thought points at the prelude stage was, how big will this campaign be? What is that we need to, plan for? What is the communication that we're going to go into? One of the things that we were very clear was, when we said about integrated communications, we said digital is a mechanism that reaches out to consumer at different points of time. Digital should follow the same communication or pick up the same communication theme and run, which the mainline did. So one of the things that we were very, very clear was to say, we will not dealing the 2 communication. We'll go with the same communication, reach as many people as we can, and a lot of presenters actually earlier spoke about when you have similar communication on multiple platforms, how the response increase. So what happened on Etios on prelude stage was that, when we did launch this, we suddenly saw a spurt in users, and we said, oh, this is going to be big. How are you going to manage the big? And we will talk about a bunch of things about, what did we do at the background and stuff like that as we go along. I'm going to put some numbers in, and then I'll go into details of it. So moved from prelude to launch stage. And what happened in the launch stage? Bingo, there was a big traffic rush on our site. One of the biggest things that we were worried constantly was, is the server going to go down? What is that we can actually take on the server? How many people can we accommodate? And interestingly, every single piece of campaign that we ran worked extremely well. We got 3+ percentage points on click-through. It's an interesting story altogether on why we got the 3+ percentage points. We can talk about it some of the day, but the fact is, I think coming back, integrated communication works. And what we ultimately did was, in a span of 15 days, we actually managed to do about 2.5 million page views, which accounted for about 500,000 users. And one of the reasons why we started looking at numbers, and one of the reasons, when I started this campaign, one of the biggest things in my mind was we went back, and I come from publishing industry, and one of the things that I did for the last 8 years at MSN was every morning I'd come into office and say, how am I going to get the next user? How many users can I grow this month? And I said, why can't you apply the same logic around here? Because when you look at what is digital delivering to a brand, it's about saying how many people am I sending into a mall, and how many people can you therefore convert over a period of time. So, for me, getting the numbers was very important, and we were constantly looking at saying, okay, numbers are good, but what is a good number to achieve? So we went back and we said, okay, let's look at the entire digital landscape of what the automobile industry is doing today and where are they stacked. And here is what we found. So this is, pretty much auto manufacturers, most of them available. One of them, Ford, is not in there because Ford does it differently. All these numbers are from ComScore, all publicly available. And one of the biggest things that we wanted to achieve was to be these numbers. These numbers are less than 1% of the overall market. I'm talking about market of 40 million consumers. These are less than 1% of the overall market size of 40 million that ComScore reports. And we said we have to be much, much, much ahead of this, and that's what we ultimately achieved in that month. What happened was, when we did run Toyota 8 Yours, and for that particular month, of course it was the launch month, we went much beyond auto brand verticals. We have Car Deco and a bunch of other car verticals. We were much, much ahead of all the car verticals. So what it goes on to say is that if you actually pick a campaign, and the other effect of doing a campaign well, we had a bunch of integration with social media. It was one of the top trending topics on Twitter. And what it ultimately did was we had about 500,000 consumers, 2.5 million page views, a fantastic engagement, and a great response from even our clients, customers, and a whole lot of people. And in simple, what would what is that I would like you to take away from here is to say, this number didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen magically. We said, what is our overall market and where do we want to be as per market? And we started defining the rules of the game and said, even in buying media, we defined, what media are you going to buy, at what stages, what kinds of media will you buy, where will you buy, where are your audiences? Media planning was done a lot to do with where your audiences are rather than what CPM or CPC would I get. So this is what we achieved out of Toyota 8 Yours. What I'm going to run through quickly now is, we did this, numbers are great. What can you take back from this presentation? Fundamentally, I think, I've been talking to a lot of advertisers over the last 1 year, and people talk about, deliver leads. I want to just run this advertising. The reality of digital is, as I said, digital is a medium that connects you with a consumer. Digital is no rocket science. Just like any other medium, digital is another medium that lets you engage with the customer, maybe with a lot more interactive than others. So digital actually cuts across every single thing that a communication planner is hoping to achieve. So you don't look at it digital from one vertical, but you look at it holistically. The other thing to digital marketers is, I've had some experiences where a marketer would say, I want leads, but ultimately he would start evaluating you on how much did we spend, where are you running the ad. The reality is, if you're looking at leads, look at leads. Don't evaluate the whole post campaign on other metrics. So digital can actually touch you in many forms, and research has said time and again that most consumers continue to engage on dual and multiple platforms, and digital is great. Point number 2 is invest time in understanding the digital landscape. We all know 40 million consumers, mobile has large set of consumers, a whole lot of data. But where are these consumers? What are they doing? Where are they coming from? How do you use them effectively for your campaign? See, one of the first things that I put in there, this data is ComScore data in many senses, because it's the only publicly available data. Internet PC penetration is set to grow. You're going to become one of the largest online user base in the country. SEC A and B is consistently growing, forms almost about 60% of overall internet population in the country today. With regard to social web, Facebook was, if I recollect right, was number 6 and number 7 on ComScore ratings in the country. And in the last 1 year, they've popped all the way up to almost number 2 or number 3 now. I think Yahoo is still number 2, and Facebook is number 3 in the country. Social web, more and more people are engaging with social web. What can you do on the social web going beyond just like? How can you engage with the customer? What do you know about the customer who's a part of your group, and a whole lot of other stuff? I'll talk a bit about that later. Mobile web, one great story I must share with you is that, when I was in publishing, when I was at MSN, it took me almost 5 years to grow inventory from 2 million to 500 million. It took me 5 years.